Question: what are the four great realities? The four great realities are the four rays, or the four tas. Amun ta, Atem ta, Aten ta, Amun ta. These are the four great realities. Listen to reason. Who and what is the Supreme Being? The Supreme Being is almighty nature, all space, all matter, and all time, all people, all places, and all things. This is the Supreme Being. Listen to reason. Almighty nature exists in two opposite forces. The first force is mind, or nupu. The second force is death, which is zupu. Listen to reason. What is the nature of nature? The nature of nature are the laws and cycles of almighty nature. Birth, growth, maturity, decline, death, gestation, birth, maturity, decline, death. Around and around and around. Listen to reason. What is the highest force of nature within almighty nature? The highest force of nature is 9 ether, which is all of the creative chemicals and electromagnetic powers in creation. 9 ether exists in the top half of the circle of space, matter, and time. 9 ether is the highest force of reasoning, known in ancient Greek philosophy as nous. 9 ether is the highest force of creativity, life in its extreme. Listen to reason. The opposite side of the circle is a state of scientific death, known as zupu. Zupu is 6 ether. 6 ether is 9 ether in death, meaning that all of the creative chemicals and ethers and electromagnetic forces that existed in 9 ether have achieved a state of scientific death. So we call Zupu, Almighty Zupu, the state of scientific death on the lower half of the circle of space, matter, and time, and we call Nupu the state of life in the upper half of the circle of space, matter, and time. Question: where are we existing right now in the circle of space, matter, and time? Right now, all of nature exists at rock bottom in the circle. This point is known as 3 ether, meaning all of the creative gases and ethers of nature are in a state of absolute scientific death. This is a time of the rulership of the spiritual beings of death, also known as ghost. Ghost is what is called God, and is the spiritual religious ruler of this time, and is symbolized by the Egyptian deity Osiris, who is the god of the underworld. Listen to reason. We Ethiopians, or Ether-Utopians, are natives of the top half of the circle of space, matter, and time, known as Nupu. During our time, we were not as we are now, but were physical gods and goddesses, in harmony and communication with the positive forces of nature that existed at that time. The physical gods and goddesses are the physical ancestors of the modern day Ethiopian, Nubian, or African. All other races, which include the Phoenician race, the Hindu race, the Mongolian race, and the Caucasian race, and those mixtures of those races, are natives to the lower half of the circle of space, matter, and time, known as Zupu. Zupu is the time of mankind, and those races are known as mankind. Mankind evolved from the tailless monkey that was hatched out of egg formulas in the salt waters of Bali in Indonesia 18 million years ago to this date. Question: what is the destiny of all races? The destiny of all races is to evolve back into the physical gods and goddesses known as Nupu. We are now at 3.3, which is rock bottom, which is a very adverse time for Ethiopians, as we Ethiopians are by nature beings that exist at the opposite of 3, which is 9 at the top half of the circle. This time now is the time of Ghost, Osiris, and the children of Ghost are the Caucasian race. And they do the will of their father according to absolute nature. Ghost has no life, and therefore must subsist on the living. And we Ethiopians have the richest blood, and therefore Ghost feeds off the blood and the suffering and the sweat of Ethiopians who are under a spell of religion. That spell was placed there by Leviathan, which are the descending spiritual beings that have been going down on the left side of the circle of space, matter, and time, from 6 point west down to 3 point south, through pantheism down to religion. Religion is the etheric science of the Caucasians. Pantheism is the etheric science of the Phoenicians, Hindus, and Mongolians. Moon is the etheric science of the 9 ether gods and goddesses from the top half of the space, matter, and time circle. This circle revolves through a time period of 72 million years. 36 million years of life on the top half of the circle. 36 million years of scientific death on the lower half of the circle. All beings on the lower half of the circle are subject to birth and death. On the top half of the circle, physical gods and goddesses live for a period of 36 million years, starting from point 6 east, going anti-clockwise to point 6 west. Listen to reason. The smart circle of space, matter and time is a circle of the measurement of 72 million years. We make it circular for ease of understanding. This circle is split into two opposites, Nupu on the top and Zupu on the bottom. Nupu is the time of 9 ether positivity, creativity, reasonability, and life. Zupu is the time of 6 ether, negativity, scientific death, and the forces of animal and animal type men. On the top half of the circle, there is no such thing as death. Death only comes into existence at 6 point west, when the sons of nature go through scientific death, meaning that the sons of nature grow weak and tired and lose their 9 ether forces. And those 9 ether forces are taken over by 6 ether death forces. The physical gods and goddesses cannot exist on the lower half of the circle. So at point 6 west, the physical gods and goddesses demise, metamorphose, and sink into the earth as ek-formulas. But before they do, they create Tarkind, or the present day African Ethiopian pygmy, from which all present day Africans descend from. These modern day African pygmies are created by sexual intercourse. This is why on the lower half of the circle, all beings come into existence through sexual intercourse. On the top half of the circle, there is no sex, there is no death, and there are no dangerous animals or things that cause death. On the lower half of the circle, this is a time of mankind and animal type men, birds of prey and animals of prey. 6 west is symbolized by the Egyptian deity Amun-Re, who is also known as Amen-Ta. The first beings to come into existence at 6 west for memory drill and repetition are the Ethiopian pygmies, who are the posterity children of the physical gods and goddesses who cannot exist in the lower half of the circle and die out at 6 points west and go into the earth to become egg formulas, which will rise again as mankind. Mankind being the Phoenician race, the Hindu race, the Mongolian race, and the Caucasian race. Mankind living in the death cycle is an animal type of man and reproduces through sexual intercourse and is controlled by the spiritual forces of death, meaning that animals prey on other animals, men prey on other men, and men prey on animals. The spiritual beings that existed on the top half of the circle as Nupu also go through scientific death and descend in reasonability. These are the orb gods and goddesses of creation that were created through mental concentration from the suns and planets of creation. These spiritual gods and goddesses were highly reasonable and positive on the upper half of the circle, and in harmony and communication with the physical gods and goddesses, the pygmies of creation. But after 6 Point West, these spiritual gods and goddesses descend in reasonability, becoming down through the lower quarter of the circle, less and less reasonable, and more sadistic and demanding of flesh and blood beings to manipulate and control. And being in scientific death, they need the blood and sustenance from emotions of the physical living beings. So therefore, because of this need, they instigate flesh and blood beings into war, violence, sacrifice, so as to get blood as sustenance. These spiritual beings are the gods and goddesses of pantheism and religion, who descend from 6 Point West down through the lower left half of the smart circle to 3 Point South. This quarter of the circle is known as the evolutionary quarter, where all things descend into deep scientific death. After rock bottom, a new ray or new tar is gestated, and that ray or tar at the bottom of the circle at 3 Point South is known as Amun ray, the gestating ray. And once rock bottom has been reached, 9 ether forces from the top half of the circle start to pull all of nature back up on the right side of the circle from Amun ray up towards Atum ray or Atum Ta or Atum Ta. This is known as the revolutionary quarter of the circle. And after 6 Point East, which is Atem Ta or Atum ray, once again, all of nature enters into the time of the physical gods and goddesses, where all of mankind cease to exist and die out, and the physical gods and goddesses are recreated. Listen to reason. All of absolute nature takes a period of 72 million years from any point in the circle until it reaches the same point again. And this circle revolves for a period of 80 times, after which it becomes the time of the smart circle of chaos, where all of the universes, planets, suns, stars disintegrate. This comes about through 9 ether gradually becoming weaker and weaker and weaker as the smart circle of order revolves. This is necessary to allow absolute nature a period of absolute rest and rejuvenation, so that once again, after 80 cycles of chaos, new suns, new universes can be born again, and the whole cycle repeats itself over and over again. As it is spoken, so let it be remembered always, and so let it be done. Listen to reason. What is life and what is death? And is there life after death? Listen to reason. Some people are taught to believe that each time a person is born, he or she has a new soul who never existed before. This is not true. But what is true is that the baby just born has a new body that never existed before. And the new body must produce life for itself if it is continue to live after birth. The umbilical cord of that mother provides the life for the embryo and fetus during the gestation period before the infant was born. It is not an individual spirit being called a soul that keeps the baby alive, because spirit beings survive on the food and blood of the living body themselves. In other words, it is just the opposite of what religionists teach. Instead of spirit beings being the live people, people are the live spiritual beings, because life itself is indeed a burning. The burning can be conscious or unconscious, constructive or destructive. There exists the life of life and the life of death. The life of life exists in the top half of the circle of existence during the time that the top half exists. And the life of death has being in the bottom half of the same circle. Like life, death lives. Otherwise, it can not be active and reverse life. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. Listen to reason. Life springs from an acid base and is perpetuated by that acid base. Of course, acid burns, so hence life is a burning. Like the acid in a car battery is the life of the car is made active by gas burning, and the person is made active by blood burning. Brain roots that create brains from other matter are acid particles that produce mind and reason energy, who carry out the work of creation work of brain roots, who are called the prime mover. When a baby is born, the attending physician or midwife makes sure that the infant is breathing. And if it is not inhaling and exhaling, the baby gets a spanking to excite and activate the brain and nervous system into action, because otherwise the child will die unless it is stillborn already. When the baby actively starts to breathe, the oxygen it breathes goes to the lungs, and the acid in the blood in its lungs burns the oxygen the child breathes. And that breathing and that burning is natural electricity called ether, which is life. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. Listen to reason. When the natural electricity, ether, who is the burning, reaches the brain, it lights up the brain like a bulb. Then the person not only has life, but consciousness with that life, because he or she can then see, feel, taste, hear, and smell. Therefore, a person sees, feels, tastes, hears, and smells with his or her mental organ, the brain, which is the organ of consciousness, by way of the nervous systems of the brain. The brain stays alive with the organ of oxygen, the lungs, and the organ of blood, the heart, which the brain grew for its survival. Marrow of the bone, the spinal cord, and the nervous systems of a person or thing are extensions, roots, and branches of the brain of a being. Of course, the nervous systems of a person are found throughout the physical person. Then, too, there is nothing mysterious about the breath of life, for it is oxygen. The point is this: when the burning stops, that is the end of that individual's personal life, because the purpose of the body is to provide the conditions necessary for the burning that is life. And when it fails to do that, life ends. In addition, the purpose of the body is to continue life and to be the tool that the brain uses for survival and support, pleasure and pain. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. Listen to reason. Like the engine of a car gives off carbon monoxide, the lungs of a person give off carbon dioxide. Carbon is residue of a burnt substance of gas. The point is this: an individual inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide is evidence of burning taking place in the lungs and throughout the circulatory system of a living person. And this is why the body of a living person is warm and that of a dead person is cold. Open your mouth and blow your breath in the back of your hand and feel how warm it is, and you will know that the burning is taking place. Oxygen being burnt by blood and creating natural electricity called natural ether, which is life. Then too, what about that static electricity that causes clothes to cling to body? This is further proof that life is indeed natural electricity, known as natural ether, who is the life of all living persons and things in one degree or another throughout the universes. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. Listen to reason. Death is also a burning, but whereas life is a burning for construction and growth, death is a burning for destruction and decay. That is to say, life and death are certainly opposite processes. Death is a burning too, because death lives, and this is why death is active and rules the bottom half of the circle of all existence. As already stated, life is a burning, which is natural electricity called natural ether. And when the burning stops, that is the end of life, and death starts a reverse burning, which may be called a cold burning. That is to say, the undoing of what life has done. At death, or just before death of a person or thing, the spirit being or spirit beings who possessed, was incarnate in, the person during his or her gestation period in his mother's womb, or became incarnate at birth of the person, that spirit being takes leave from the dying or dead person or thing and seeks refuge elsewhere, most likely becoming incarnate in another person or thing. And this transmigration of what is called souls or spirits from body to body is known as a metempsychosis in the English American Dictionary. This is what actually does happen at death of a person or thing, but there is no individual personal spirit or soul that goes on beyond death of that body. The spirits who became incarnate in people existed already in a time immemorial. The purpose of the body is to produce the burning, which is life, and when the burning ends, life ends, because the condition that keeps the burning going is among the organs of the body and not outside. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. Listen to reason. Of all the various kinds of life that can exist, the most vital one next to physical life for a person is mental life, which includes spiritual life. Mental life is known who self is by race and by nature, known who others are by race and by nature, and known who absolute nature is by laws and by reason, that is to say, by ethereal and scientific knowledge about almighty nature. Of all the various kinds of death that can exist, the most devastating one next to physical death of people is mental death. That surely includes spiritual death. Mental death is the opposite of mental life. Victims and sufferers of mental death are the mental dead, who this booklet and other books called Introduction to the Nature of Nature, written by Afro Uno, are designed to help men to resurrect and liberate from the adverse forces of mental death of people. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. What is and where is the creator of the universes, and the persons, places, and things thereof? Listen to reason. The Creator did not just create some persons and things at the beginning of life and ordered and then stop creating, because he and she are still creating. And the way they created persons and things originally is the same way they still do, and that is by growing them. Creating does not mean making something from nothing, which is impossible. Creating means formulating and forming, constructing, building, manufacturing, composing, constituting, generating, concentration, or growing persons, places, or things from matter or material already existing. The Creator is all space, all matter, and all time, and that is all nature. The space of nature is infinite vacuum. The space of nature is anything and everything that occupies space and time of nature, is the continuation of the existence of infinite vacuum and infinite matter. Note that the true and nature science definition of matter is anything and everything that occupies space. When a person reasons out and rationally analyzes this definition of matter, he or she comes to know that matter is the Almighty together with space and time. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. Listen to reason. Matter is the Almighty, and the Creator is in the Almighty. The Creator is in all matter in one degree or another, that is to say, in various degrees. In nature, universe, science, the prime mover in matter is called brain notes. The prime mover is the first particles in matter to make the first move towards putting a person, place, or thing into creation order. And universe scientists label these particles brain notes. Brain notes create, meaning grow brains, and as brain matter accumulates and consolidates, it produces energy called mind and reason. And reason uses mind and also other energies in matter as well as itself to grow persons and things. What causes the prime mover, brain notes, to move towards formula, life, and order are the proper conditions, laws of nature, and the cycle in season suitable for the being who is to come into life, form, and system as an entity. These requirements and principles of nature hold true whether the entity is going to be one of the largest organisms of nature like a universe or some of the smallest like bacteria. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Listen to reason. Brain notes, which is the created via the energy reason, are in all matter throughout infinite absolute nature. Brain notes are microscopic and macroscopic, meaning a person can neither see them with the naked eye nor with a microscope. But we can hear them, smell them, taste with them, and feel with them, physically and emotionally, and see dreams and visions with them. The understanding of this topic explains why there are countless different living creatures and organisms on and in the planet Earth that no God someplace in the sky would ever think about creating or indeed ever care about creating. And this means that the matter of absolute nature is all there ever was, all there ever is, and all there ever will be, meaning matter is the Almighty forever, together with space and time. Matter, by way of its brain notes and reason, is the Creator eternally. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. What is the meaning of the resurrection according to nature science? Listen to reason. Any intelligent person can reason out that there is no such thing, that one day the bodies of all the physically dead people are going to rise from their graves and other resting places and take on form and life again to start with. That is against the laws of nature, which require physical living beings to go through the gestation, birth, and growth processes to have material being that is for real and not an illusion. And furthermore, even if a physical resurrection could and would happen, there would not be enough room on planet Earth to hold all the human bodies that existed going back to the beginning of the evolution and death, 18 million years ago. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. Listen to reason. According to Nine Nature, which is the science and philosophy of Nupu, like planet Earth has 4 major seasons. The same is true for the circle of existence and all existence in general. All of nature exists 1 degree at a time on the existence circle. Its circle changes and all matter turn counterclockwise. They turn up order and opposite to the hands of a clock. And when absolute nature arrives at point 3 south from point 6 west on the left of the circle, it has finished the winter cycle of the universes and then begins to enter the spring cycle of the universes of almighty nature. So going beyond point 3 counterclockwise calls for the 9 ether mentality energy of the universe spring cycle to wake up and start to emanate from the centers of the suns, like spring sap emanates from the roots of trees and plants after winter. And this 9 energy reaches the center of the planets and satellites of the solar systems of the universe, and the planets and satellites begin to permeate energies more positive than before. And the mental resurrection of persons, places, and things has begun together with the universal orbs. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. Listen to reason. Now that the universe orbs and bodies like the sun, earth, and moon are decreasing in 6 ether energy and mind and increasing in 9 ether energy and mentality, someone has to herald and usher in this change from universal winter, which is the evolution cycle, to universal spring, which is the revolution cycle. And that someone is called Afu Anu, the writer and messenger of Nupu, whose science is Nun. Nupu is the original creator and original prime mover of the universes, and is also resurrectionist of the mental dead. The mental dead are all people and persons or peoples who are ignorant about the basic ethereal knowledge of absolute nature and the laws of nature as verified by sound right reason, which is Nupu, and the positive 9 science, which is Nun. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known.